Hey, it's Willie Crawford here, and I wanted to do a quick video to discuss with you buying and selling domain names. I'm noticing some minor things that were bothering me. I just came in off of exercising and then doing a little time in the garden, so I'm not dressed up for video, but so what? I was thinking, though, as I was working out, I go for like 5 mile to 10 mile walks every day, and then I spend time in my garden. I was thinking about the fact that a lot of you are buying domain names and you're not being able to do with them what you'd like to do with them. Specifically, those of you buying domain names to turn around and quick turn to sell as soon as you can. So let me share a little bit about buying and selling domain names. I'm going to do a screen share here. Hey, first thing I'll show you is I'll mention the fact that I buy and sell domain names regularly, like almost every day. I own literally, or I purchase literally, and I own probably 1,000 domain names now that I bought and am in the process of selling. And then I have a bunch of them that I rank and I rent, and I have a bunch of them that I will hold on to and I sell affiliate products from. And I was taught actually the business of buying and selling domain names, but I'll show you a different site first. By Gene Pimentel, who owns a site called Domain Profits Boss. I went through this training that Gene has here, which is actually 5 courses in one. One's called Expert Flips, and there's domains to go. Same day domain profits is about buying domains and then selling them the same day. That's why it's called same day domain profit. And Instant Domainer is a platform actually that lets you take a domain and build a website on it. So it's really a bunch of templates that all lock together, and you upload those to your domain name, and you have a website. And the website basically is for people who want to sell their domain name. So the website says this domain is for sale, and it's got all kinds of contact forms and information on it and a control panel. It's fairly simple. It's not very complex at all, but a lot of this training is just on how to set that up and how to use it. And Local Domain Empire is about buying and building domain names that are targeting the local offline market, you know, the local bakery, the local florist, the local pharmacy, the local realtor, whatever. And I mentioned I'm into rank and rent websites. A big part of why and how I got into rank and rent websites was after going through Gene's Local Domain Empire's course. I know that he mentions in some of his training, there's more money in ranking and then renting a website. And so you buy it and you hold on to it, and instead of selling it for whatever you can get for it, you rent it out, and now you have an income stream. Month after month, you're making money from renting that website out. So there's more money in that. Yet when I went through his training, and he sells this training here, it's like 5 courses in one for $67. And it's very, very good training. I've gone through it probably 5 or 6 times from end to end. And this quote here, "You've just put a lot of money in my pocket," that's something I said after hearing Gene speak the first time in 2009 at a seminar in Las Vegas, Nevada that was hosted by Dennis Becker. Gene was talking about domaining and how he was making money in domains, buying and selling domains. So I talked to him. I ate dinner with he and his wife, Rowie, and I said, wow, this stuff is pretty cool. And so my interest in domaining kicked off in 2009. I've gone through Gene's training. I keep calling him Jim because I'm tired. I do recommend it at $6-7. It's an affiliate product, so I use his link because I do believe in his product. I gave him testimonials and everything else, and I'm on his page, and you can read all that, but you know, there it is again. There's my face on his face. So I do believe in it. Yeah, I know you've just put a lot of money in my pocket. See, I said that to him. And again, it mentions after speaking at his at Dennis's Earn 1K a Day seminar. I do recommend this training because it'll give you a good grounding in buying and selling domain names. When you're buying and selling domain names, and what this is about is the domain names that I like to focus on buying are domain names that were previously owned. They're already in the search engine, it's already indexed, and then whoever had them for whatever reason didn't renew them. So maybe they went out of business, maybe somebody died, maybe a partnership broke up. For whatever reason, or they never got around to it, and so they were tired of just renewing them year after year, paying that registration fee and not using them. So they just said, I'm going to sell these, or I'm not going to renew them, just let them go. And so every day, every single day to the year, roughly 100,000 domain names are not renewed. And you can find at the various registrars list of these domain names, and there's people who compile these lists too and sell them. But who has the time to sift through 100,000 domain names? So what I do is I trust Gene, whom I've mentioned already as my mentor, to recommend to me about 300 domain names 5 or 6 times a week. What he does is he publishes a list that he has called Name Snagger, and I'll post a link to that below this video somewhere, and I'll stick the video out on YouTube. But what Gene does is he sifts through, I don't know how he does it, I'm sure he has some software that automates the process, but based on his years and years of experience, 15 plus years of experience, he says he routinely scours a database of nearly 100,000 domains that expire every single day. Takes hours doing this, and I can believe that. And then he winnows it down to roughly 300 domain names each time. And then he says these names are in the top 1% of available domain names with the highest statistical dollar value. So he's saying, I've somehow sifted through the list of 100,000 domain names that are available every day. They're called freshly dropped, which means when a person who owns a domain name doesn't renew it, the registrar will send them several warnings. Your domain name is about to expire, your domain name is about to expire, your domain name is about to expire, and then finally it's expired, and then they'll send them more emails probably saying your domain name is expired, but you can renew it. And after a certain time frame to renew it, at about a week or so for most registrars, you can renew it after it's expired for the same price. After that week, most will hit you with, I don't know, anywhere from 50 to 150 bucks extra to renew your domain name that they're saying, we held on to it, you know, and they'll hold on to it for a while. It varies from registrar to registrar, but finally they go, well, we're tired of holding on to this domain name. We're going to release it back for sale to the general public. That's called dropping a domain name. And when domain names are released back to the general public, we say they're freshly dropped. People who invest in domain names like me and many of my friends, we go out and we look for these freshly dropped domain names, and we want the ones that fit our purpose. And most of these are just domain names that, again, whoever had them didn't put a lot of value on them, or they would have renewed them. So they're, you know, niches, and they're different types of business names, different types of, you know, health-related, sports-related, fitness-related, hobbies, all those things. And I sift through the list every day that it comes in. I get the list. I fire up my email. I look at it's a spreadsheet that Gene sends out. The spreadsheet is Gene's product he calls Name Snagger. He sends it out anywhere from probably an average of 5 times a week lately. He focuses on .com domain names because that's what the market puts the highest value on. And he says these domain names, all of the domain names on the list that he publishes have a statistical dollar value of a minimum of $500, and that's just based on the formula he uses, okay? And this list costs $5 per month for me to get, you know, 5 or 6 emails a week with the 300 recommended domain names. And I sift through that, and I buy some days 1 or 2, some days 10. And so I buy the ones that jump out at me. Now, what I'm noticing is a lot of people that I advise and have trained, they're buying domain names that they can't sell. So part of my purpose in doing this is to address what I call the elephant in the room. And the elephant in the room is that you can't get stuck with domain names that you bought that you can't sell. Okay, I'm buying domain names, a lot of them recommended by Gene, but some of them because of thoughts on what's going on in the world today, current events, some things pop into my mind. I will come up with the domain name. I'll get a rough estimated value using GoDaddy's valuation tool. And if I need to, after that, I will go to a trusted person who gives me his valuation of what he thinks the domain name will be. Now, you can look at any domain name in the world, and it is worth only what someone's willing to pay for it. So when you ask any expert in the world, you could ask 3 experts today, you know, what do you think this domain name is worth? And you'll get 3 different estimations. So they're what we in the military used to call wild ass guesses, or WAGs. You know, it's just somebody saying this is what I think it's worth, and that means that should mean nothing to you. So the first thing you should do is when you're looking at buying domain names, ask yourself how are you going to use it. I buy them, a lot of them. I'm looking for domain names that I know I can use to sell an affiliate product, and a lot of times I'll buy domain names just to do a specific affiliate product promotion with the intention of, after that promotion is over with, if it's a short term, like a product launch in the internet marketing space or something, I plan on selling that domain name later on maybe. And so I buy it, I use it by redirecting the traffic from that domain name or through the registrar. I do a 302 redirect at my registrar so that when someone clicks on the domain name, it sends them to the affiliate product sales page. That's how I do it, a 302, which is a temporary redirect instead of a 301, which is a permanent redirect. Doesn't matter. You do that at your registrar. And so I buy a lot of domain names to use for selling affiliate products, and there I do a redirect. The second reason I buy them is to take the domain name and then go out and find a buyer for it. And there, I think you need to be really, really, really careful because I see too many people getting stuck with domain names they can't find buyers for. And Gene's training that I mentioned in the Domain Profits Boss training, he teaches you how to track down people that are ideal buyers for your domain names, but there's still work involved. He teaches you how to reach out to these people by email, by whatever, in a non-spammy fashion. If you reach out to somebody saying, I have a domain name it's a perfect match for your business, how can the person be offended? See, the odds are that when they went into business, they looked out to see if that business name, if the domain name was available and someone else owned it. And they never checked back to see if it became available again. They don't check every week or whatever. So we look at the list of freshly dropped domain names, so I do. And when one jumps out at me, I ask myself, is there probably a business with that name? If there is, I buy the domain name. I check the value first. And then, and also if it's a domain name, let's say a city that has a city plus a niche, Atlanta Transmissions. I'll use an example, or Destin Cosmetic Dentist or something like that. I would look at the size of the city. I'd look at the demographics of the population of the city. For example, I want some area that the people can afford the product that is, if Atlanta Transmission, lots of people have cars that break down, that you get transmissions repaired, and there's lots of wealthy people in Atlanta. So, that's a domain name that makes perfect sense for me to buy. But if it's some really poor rural town, it doesn't matter how available the domain name is. If there's only like 500 people in the town and the average income is $20,000 a year, those people can't afford to spend a lot of money on goods and services. So the businesses in those areas often struggle. And so you need to evaluate, the domain name from that perspective. And another elephant in the room is the fact that, okay, so this domain name was not renewed by the person who had it. And at some point, the registrar said, okay, you're not going to renew it. And they took it offline. They deleted all the files probably from their servers, or the web host did. The registrar didn't. The web host did. The registrar pulled it back, and they owned the domain name. And so the odds are that while that site ranked very high in the search engine for the keywords that were on the site and in the title and in all the meta tags and all that optimization, all that SEO stuff, the odds are that after several months, that site has dropped in the search engine rankings because a lot of the links have become bad links. If the web pages that were out there on some server, the person is no longer hosting at that web host, that web host deletes his files from the server, and the registrar is no longer pointing people to that server in the first place. Okay, now those links are all dead. So when Google goes to spider those links, Google doesn't find what it's looking for. Google begins to, its algorithm begins to drop the ranking of that domain name in the search engines, or that specific domain in the search engine. So the elephant in the room is you need to, there are certain keywords that people are searching on. If you have an exact match keyword domain name, it's pretty easy to get it ranked high again, especially if you're in the local market, because if you're targeting, I live in Niceville, Florida, Niceville florist. They're probably a dozen florists here, but how many? Only one can be named Niceville Florist. You know, they have a business license and it says Niceville Florist. And so, and if nobody owns Niceville Florist as a domain name, then that'd be perfect for them, because someone searching for a florist in Niceville, pull out their cell phone, they type florist, and if they don't enter the city name, the cell phone or the browser knows where they're located. It can do the geo thing and figure out, okay, they're in Niceville, let's find the nearest florist. It'll do that automatically. But if they type in Niceville florist or florist Niceville, it would also probably point to them. So it's very easy to get that low-hanging fruit of ranking for the exact location plus the exact keyword that people are searching for. You can rank for that fairly easy. That's what I teach, rank and rent. I have an entire course on that, and I emphasize going for the low-hanging fruit instead of spending months and months and months trying to rank for some ultra-competitive term, you know. But make sure that you're buying domain names that are for cities with a big enough population. I look for cities with low crime rates, with people that have a fairly high educational level. I look for the jobs they have. I look for the per capita income. I look at, is a town or city growing or shrinking? All those are factors that tell me whether or not I want to buy that domain name, and in the case of rank and rent, spend the time to rank that website and then rent it out to someone. So this thing is about this recording. I'm dead on the spur of the moment. As you can tell, I don't have a script, but I'm talking to you about two things. One is, should you be buying certain expired domain names? Again, I buy anywhere from a couple to 10, 15 a day sometimes. 10, I rarely go above 10, but and I find them through a number of different sources, including friends that'll point out to me, hey, this just recently expired or whatever. So, and domain names that pop into my mind. So some days I've been known to buy 20, 30 domain names in a day, but that's another story. That's almost an addiction, and that's something I want to warn you about. Don't buy too many domain names. What'll happen is, a year will roll around and it'll be time to renew that domain name, and you'll have all these domain names in your registrar saying, you've got 100 domain names that are due to renew next month. And you're thinking, okay, it's $9 at my registrar, which is named Silo, $9 a month. So I've got 100 domain names. That's $900. I have to ask myself, am I going to spend $900 to renew those domain names that, for whatever reason, I didn't redeploy? Maybe if I'm using them, sure, I'm going to renew them. But if I'm not, then you have the question, do I just let it go, or do I renew it for another year? And well, your cost of holding on to it is $9. But you have to ask, do I think I'm going to use it, you know, or can I take that $9 and use it for something else? Or can I sell that domain name at a lower cost than I had hoped to get for it? You know, I from time to time will run fire sales where I have domain names that if I had the patience, I could easily sell for in the hundreds or in the thousands of dollars. Some of them even have potential for like tens of thousands of dollars. But the question is, how long are you willing to wait to find the right buyer? A domain name is worth only what a specific buyer is willing to pay for it, and they have to see the value in that. You know, if I have a domain name that's somebody's newborn child's name, it's a perfect match. I can reach out to that person and say, congrats on the birth of your new baby, Elizabeth Green Brownie, whatever. And I have something you can give her as a gift that will last her a lifetime, you know, and I offer this domain name to them. The perfect gift, you know, or perfect Mother's Day gift, whatever, you know. So you can see things like that, and that domain would be worth a lot. Or some big, somebody starting a high profit business, maybe a cosmetic surgeon in a certain city or whatever, and they know that each patient they get is worth $10,000, you know. They want a domain name that's going to make them show up first in the searches when somebody in the vicinity of their city is looking for them. So they'll pay more just to rent the site or to buy it from you. But you need to think those things through before you invest in domain names. Now, it was one other thing I was going to show you, and then I'll shut up. And those of you who are in my rank and rent website training, and there's quite a few of you, you can feel free to ask me to expand on what I mentioned here, especially if you've already gone through Gene's training, because it's going to cover most of the things that you'd probably ask. And it also it's the basis of a lot of what I know. I've gone through some other training, including another course that Gene offers, which is like 52 lessons or whatever. And I've gone through that several times. See, that's the thing. I recommend you buy this course, the Domain Profits Boss course, but I recommend you buy it only if you're going to make time to go through it. It's 5 courses. Actually, out of the 5, the Instant Domainer course is mostly how to set up a website where you can change the parameters on the website, such as the price and the name of the site and the logos and things like that. You can change those on the fly because the template has a admin page built into it, and you change your things on one page and it changes the entire site really, I mean, instantaneously. So it's very, very powerful piece of software. It's very simple too. And I learned that in probably 30 minutes. So I recommend going through this training, but I recommend getting it only if you're going to use it. And there's 5 courses. I probably took about, he has short videos, but I probably spent myself about 40 hours going through this because I really, really, really wanted to learn the course, okay? And so it's about you asking yourself, do I have the time to do this? And I have people signing up for like my rank and rent training who never go through the recordings I make, or they never do the steps. You see, when Gene recommended things in his training, he recommended like free pieces of software or tools or websites that you register at for free, or you visit and you learn things from. I did everything in all these courses, and I sat there with pen and paper, making notes to myself as I went through the training. And then I looked at, what more did I need to know? And what more I needed to know was he touched upon ranking and renting, but he didn't teach it extensively. So I did lots and lots and lots of research. And I've been ranking and renting websites for, about 3.5, 4 years now. And if you're wondering how well I do, my friend Walt Bayless, he has a piece of software he sells that I'm not pushing, but it works beautifully. It's called PR Rage. What PR Rage does is it sifts through the GoDaddy auction site of domain names for sale at auction, and you give the software parameters like the number of letters in a domain name you're looking for, the age, the number of backlinks, things like that, and the software will sift through the database, and you give it a price range. It sifts through the database and find domain names for sale at GoDaddy and say, here's some that meet your criteria. So it's a good piece of software. I was actually a beta tester for the software, as I am for a lot of things. I was a certified software tester in the Air Force, and so I know how to test software. I know how to break software. My job in the Air Force was to say to the developer, your software doesn't do what it doesn't meet Air Force specifications. So I recommended to my boss that they not accept a lot of software until it was fixed, But we're talking about some really, really critical software that controls guided missiles and does fuel calculations and things like that. So it was important that it worked properly. And even then, we had to ask, does it meet the needs? Will it make the pilots in this case, usually their jobs easier? And can they do them better? And if okay, then maybe it was good enough, because nothing's perfect. No software is perfect. But anyway, on Walt's site here, Walt, he talks about the business of domaining. And he has, I mentioned Gene. Gene is my mentor, my main mentor. This is Gene, and this is Gene's partner, Dan Nickerson. Gene and Dan have the site MetaDomainer in common. Gene bought a domain name for $10, and a month later sold it for $24,000. He didn't rent it. He bought the domain, held onto it for a month, and sold it for $24,000. That's a rare occurrence. Dan bought one domain and sold it for $700,000 and another for $250,000. I've never done anywhere above $10,000 on a domain name, because I buy the lower end domain names, and I'm cheap. When you're buying a domain name like these that Dan have, Gene bought this for $10 and sold for 24. The ones that Dan's talking about, he probably paid a bit for it. You know, if it had these values are worth almost $1 million or 0.7 million, then he probably paid a pretty penny for it. I haven't asked him. I know him. He's in my speed dial or whatever, as is Gene. But I've never asked him, you know, what he paid for it. The reason I went to this page, though, really was to show you that my picture, because it makes me feel important. Walt interviewed me, and we were talking about buying and selling domain names. Walt was working on a sales page actually for this PR Rage software, and he interviewed me about how I do what I do. And this web page talks, a lot of his sales page talks about a guy who buys real estate and rents it. And he talks about the fact this guy had to invest $32,000 of his own money up front to buy the house and get it ready for rent. And in the end, this guy is making $250, or he's making about $250 a month in profit on his rental property after he pays all of his expenses. And so he pointed out that I do as well or better, just from a website. And what is the website? Well, you need a domain name, which I pay $9 for on average. But if it's one I really want and somebody else already owns, I can buy it off of them for a higher price. I can negotiate with them. And then you build a website on it and you rank it. And if you have the right domain name and somebody really wants it, a cosmetic surgeon or a cosmetic dentist or whatever, or a realtor, lawyers, people like that, some of them will pay you thousands of dollars for a month in rent. And they'll do that because one client or one customer is worth that. You know, some lawyer that takes on these high profile cases where when he wins them, the plaintiff wins millions of dollars. And the lawyer will take on a case like that on a contingency basis because he knows he can win it. And they go after class action lawsuits too. And so for them to spend $1,000 a month on renting a website is nothing. Same with car dealers. They budget to spend so much on every car that they sell. And you'd be surprised at how much money they spend in newspaper advertising on every single car they sell on average. So for them to rank at the top of the search engines for a specific model or make of car in a specific location is probably worth it to them, for them to spend $500 to $1,000 on running a website that ranks at the top of the search engine and is bringing in them even 2 or 3 customers a month. The site pays for itself many, many, many times over again, with certain car deals, especially the higher end cars. Now, a word of caution there is when you start looking at domain names, you want to be aware of trademarks too, and patents, things like that, intellectual property. But there's been cases that have come out. I'm not giving legal advice here. There have been cases, that where people have had, whatever Ford or Toyota, and the companies didn't seem to care because they wanted a Ford dealers or Toyota dealers to do well. So be careful there, though. I recommend not buying anything that's trademarked or patented. But I wanted to show you this because Walt interviewed me for a radio show. He does. I think it's once a month, but I'm not sure. And after he interviewed me and he found out that I was doing 6 figures a month from domain name rentals, he goes, whoa. And then he, because he was not charging that nearly as much as I do for my domain names, most of my sites that I rent out. So he, I'm not going to stick this on the air and let anybody listen to it for free. I'm going to use that as a bonus when people buy my software. And so that's the way you access my interview with Walt. It says the full interview with Willie is a bonus. And he includes several other bonuses that to me are worth quite a bit, actually, because there are people who are in the rank and rent domain business and they share a lot of their how they do things. And so, you want to go to williecrawford.org/rage, that's R-A-G-E, and make the R in rage capital letters. You can read his sales page. And I recommend that on any sales page, you read every single word. He gives examples of what websites sold for. First of all, like voice.com sold for $30 million, some of them, it's obvious why they sell for so much. And so he's showing you what they sell for, but some of these you could also rent them for. You know, if you owned California.com, I sold for $3 million. I guess, I don't know why. You build a site that's all about California, the entire state, and maybe you build a directory or something on it that breaks down and has success for each city, and there you can port the various resources, maybe in charge each business within the state of California that's listed there for their listing, something like that. You can do that. I teach building directory style sites in my rank and rent training. So yeah, I can see maybe paying $3 million for California.com, since it's the, what is it? It's like they have cities that are in the top 5 or whatever in the country. I don't remember the exact ranking anymore. Like New York's #1, Chicago's #2, maybe someplace in California's 3, and I think DC is 4. I know New York has the highest population in the country. But anyway, that's what this is about. I wanted to warn you about the elephant in the room. I'm encouraging you to go over and subscribe to Gene's List. It's costing you $5 a month. And when you look over this list of domain names, ask yourself, you know, am I going to get stuck with something? You know, I just watch people buying domain names that they end up not selling. And what I do every now and then is I will actually take some of my domain names, put them in a fire sale, and I'll fire off a note to my list saying I'm having a sale for the next, I don't know, 10, 12, 24 hours. And you can get any domain name on this page for X number of dollars. And that's how I clear out domain names that haven't moved after a certain time frame. And I do it just to give people a break on the price too, because if I had the patience, more patience, any domain name that I buy according to my criteria, they will eventually sell. It's just that, am I willing to wait 6 months or a year to find the exact perfect buyer who, instead of offering me $200 for a domain name, will offer me $5,000 because it's perfect for their business needs. So, you know, there's a waiting game there in the buying and selling of domain names. So, again, and this is actually aimed probably at people that I advise more than anyone else, is, you know, really think it through before you buy that domain name. When I get Gene's List, it comes out every 5 times a week on average probably, I look at it and there's a pressure, because you know that, okay, there are a lot of people out there who are domainers who are ready to, waiting for the list or waiting for that domain name to drop that day, and the list comes out daily. And so, and they're waiting, and as soon as they see it, you got all these domainers, probably tens of thousands in the total world, you know, who are scanning these lists of the 100,000 in different ways from different sources, and you're competing against them. So you're thinking, I need to grab that domain name before somebody else gets it. And I say, slow down, look the list over, and when you see something that you like, then you get them. In fact, let me see, I'm showing you my webpage. I'm looking at some I just bought. I bought one, AYRNA.com. The reason I bought that one is because it's a 5-letter domain name. The shorter domain names have higher values typically, but some are meaningless, and so you need to think about that too. A lot of these shorter domain names are names of like groups, bands, performing groups, and a lot of them in other countries. So you have to ask yourself, you know, am I going to be able to sell this fairly easily? I bought Bridal Shop New York and Bridal Shop Boston, Bridal Shops plural in Boston. And I bought Healthy Detox Diet. People are very big into detoxing their body. Yet if you don't do it right, you do a lot of damage to your body. So I can either sell advice and products related to detoxing the body, affiliate products, or I can sell the domain name. I bought $1,000,000booty.com just because I like the name, and it's valued, I think, at like $700 or $800. GoDaddy gave it that valuation, but it's really worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. And you have to ask yourself, how would somebody use that? You know, I bought olderandhealthier.com. I'm getting older and I'm healthier now than I was when I was 40. I'm now 61, so I can relate to that. And I bought Top Secret to Success. I know for a fact there are no real success secrets except doing the things that successful people do, copying or modeling them. But most people, you know, I've had one mentor who's a billionaire, and I've had lots of mentors in the hundreds of millions of dollars. And they all said to me, you know, here's how I made my money. And one, the late Jim Straw said to me, he said, I teach exactly how I make my money, and yet people always think I'm not going to do that because that's too much work. I'm going to look for an easier way to do it. He said, there is no easier way to do it. He said, just put in a little time and do it up front, and it all falls into place. And so I listen to Jim, and I do quite well as a result. But you have to use the advice. And I've rambled on and on with this thing. I need to edit it a little, and then I'll upload to YouTube and share it with you guys. I just wanted to warn you to be aware of the elephant in the room, which is that you can find some really great domain names dirt cheap, and you can turn on it. You can buy one for $9 using name Silo as your registrar, and then you can buy it for $9. If you sell it for $50 or $100, if you sell it for $100, you make 10 times your money, and you know you can turn it like that. You should be able to if you pick the right ones. But yeah, to sell for 500 or 1,000 is better, or several thousand. So, but look at the domain name. You know, don't buy. I buy some nonsensical domain names just to be silly, but most of them, don't be too cute. Okay, this is really, I put this together because I actually care about you guys. So don't go out and buy domain names you're gonna be stuck with. That's it for today.